Hello, and I have landed on the planet Dreamcast Space, and I'm so Valley, my boy, for Frankly Hockey. I am John Buccigross from ESPN, been there for 29 years, still there, and really looking forward, Frank, to joining with you and giving people a great aspect. You obviously plugged in as one of the best insiders of the game. I'm certainly still out on the road talking to players and coaches and GMs and have a pretty good foundational institutional knowledge myself, and I'm really looking forward to this combination.
Yeah, likewise. So happy to have you alongside riding shotgun. And man, we're going to have a blast. I love the perspective that you bring, the fun that you have with it, and just the joy that you bring to every show that you do. So can't wait to have that on this platform as well.
Well, I love the game, and you love the game. We live the game as well, and that's why I think we're a good combination. Shout out Western Michigan. Shout out, defending NCAA champions Keith Jones, Glenn Healy, former NHLers, and by the way, people are wondering that's Chandler Withington, NHL licensed hand-drawn artist with hand sketched logos and the Stanley Cup behind me there, and all the
Nice.
logos and the organization. So good stuff. Chandler does great work if you're looking for Christmas gifts. He's working with the NHL, do some really exciting stuff as well. So let's get right to it, Frank. You're at the Board of Governors meetings out there in Colorado Springs. You just deleted a $24 muffin, so I'm really excited that you up for this broadcast. And let's start with really this season is so much almost dominated about sometimes too much, but about, the NHL players at the Olympics again, best on best. We saw what the Four Nations did last year, how great it is for the game, how much the players love it. But it being in Italy this year, there are some Olympic rink construction issues, 64 days away, Frank, from the tournament beginning. What's the latest there?
Well, a bit of an eyebrow raiser yesterday with Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly speaking to us after day one of the BOGs wrapped here. And he revealed that the new timeline for completion, the new target date for completion of the main hockey arena in Milan is now February 2nd. So if you're playing along at home and looking at your calendar, you're seeing that, oh, wait, the women's tournament is supposed to play its first slate of games in that building on February 5th. So yes, that does not leave very much margin for error. And look, I think the league, this photo you see here is from October 24th, when contingents did go visit the site in October, right around Halloween. They were shocked to find that there was no roof on the building, and that so much had to be done to get this on track. The league has tried to remain pretty optimistic in certainly in the public light. I think they're frustrated with how slow this progress and process has been, but they're also sort of being held hostage here in a way that they don't have any control over this situation. This is the IOC, this is the IIHF, this is whatever processes are in place in Italian construction. So it's been a grind from that perspective for sure. I still believe that NHL players are going to Milan and are going to be playing, but that timeline, it's touch and go, because I remind everyone, John, it's not necessarily just about getting the arena construct. There's so many other facets to it: tech, broadcast, lighting, facilities for teams to change, all those things, practice venues, concessions, bathrooms, like the whole 9 yards to get a 16,000 seat arena done. And to think that you're just going to flip a switch on February 2nd and everything's going to be great for the crown jewel of the Winter Olympics, it seems a little far-fetched at this point.
Man, you'd think these people would have gone to the previous Olympics, just like when, a college hockey team, speaking of college hockey, when they build a new rink, what do? They visit Notre Dame. They visit all these places. They ask questions. What do you need? Oh, yeah, we need that many locker rooms, for a tournament and all these kinds of things. We need television lighting. What does that mean? How far does it have to be from the ice? Where do you locate the lighting? So you'd think they would have done that before they started all of this. But another issue, Frank, is obviously the dimensions. NHL rinks are 200 feet long, 85 feet wide. This one is 196.85 feet long and 85.3 wide. So it's actually wider than an NHL rink, but not as long. What have you heard in terms of concerns around the league and the Players Association as well?
Well, the IIHF released a statement on Monday confirming that those are the dimensions for the arena. And interestingly enough, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daley also revealed that he didn't find out about those dimensions until last week when it was reported on. And I think it was Pete DeBoer that shared that little tidbit. In the end, is it
Mm-hmm.
going to be a game changer? Is it going to vastly change the play? I doubt it. But for some perspective, like we're talking about 300 square feet of difference. And I know that that doesn't sound like a ton, but it's taking your average size hotel room out of the hockey rink is essentially, for like lay people, that's how to think of it. Um, so the league was surprised, and I think they're disappointed, and they sent a stern statement to the IIHF, their partner in this, to say, hey, for 2030, we're playing this on exact NHL regulation size ice. But the IIHF in this case, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but they put out a statement in 2019, if you go way back, and this is 20 meters by 60 meters, which is what this is their preferred ice size. I don't know why that's the case. It's not Olympic. It's not NHL. It's neither. But nonetheless, here we are. And I just wonder, in the back of some of these management teams' minds, John, do they look at this and say, you know what, if we were on the fence about bringing someone like Tom Wilson, is he on the team now? Is he now a lock? I mean, for me, he should have been on the team anyway with how well he's played for Washington and the point production, to say nothing of the style of play. But does this change any part of the roster selection process?
Yeah, that's because remember the old Boston Garden was about 189 feet long, and the NHL didn't have uniform ice size way back in the day when I watched the NHL as a kid. So, and that gave it some uniqueness as well. But yeah, it will be interesting. I've heard people talk about. I know Nathan McKinnon didn't think it was a big deal. I saw his quote. He said a little bit though, like where is the shrinkage going to come from, right? Do you make the neutral zone the same size and make the offensive zone a little shorter? Do you shrink the neutral zone so the offensive zone is bigger? That, I guess you could play with the lines, couldn't you?
So the league has confirmed that the space will be taken out of the neutral zone. So it will be shrunk
Okay.
there, and
There you
the
go.
offensive zone or defensive zones will remain the same size as NHL regulation. So you're going to have a condensed, smaller neutral zone in the middle of the ice.
There you go. And of course, ice quality is so important. Again, you mentioned the construction of this rink and what they need to get done, like TV lights, like dressing rooms. But obviously, ice quality is a big deal because they're going to play a lot of hockey at this arena. And I thought Bill Daley had a really strong quote about that situation.
He did. And look, there's no gray area when it comes to this. And when you look at the quote and you hear it, if the players feel that the ice is unsafe to play, then we're not going to play. It's as simple as that. I mean, it can't be
Yeah.
stated any more clearly than that. And I think,
Nope.
look, finishing off the last touches of this rink are one thing. If, drywall's missing in a certain spot or one bathroom doesn't flush, like, I think we could all live with that. But when it comes to the ice surface itself, that is the chief concern. And I'll shed some light and some details on that, because the interesting part about this, so there's 4 essential facilities in Milan. There's the main arena, there's the second arena, and then there's 2 practice facilities.
Hmm.
None of those 4 facilities have a permanent ice plant. So what does that mean? Well, think about it in Winter Classic terms. When you play outside, the league has an ice truck that they bring to the venue, and they park it outside, and they pump in all that glycol and fluid and to keep the ice surface cold. It's the chiller. In this case, they're trying to do that in Milan on 4 sheets of ice, where you're
Hmm.
not playing one game for one, spectacle. You're playing 3 games a day, heavily using this ice surface and putting it under the most stressful conditions possible with the best players in the world playing on it. And you're going to try and do that for 2 weeks straight. So it
Hmm.
is definitely a concern um, in terms of pulling this off. To the naked eye or to a fan, they're going to see an ice surface like normal. The boards are normal, all those things, but it's underneath the plumbing. And then there's the rest of it, the dehumidification, the power generators necessary to pull all these things off. Those are the things that the NHL is asking questions about and feeling unsure about. And I know that the NHL Players Association feels the same way. So that part, it's not for me, the construction, the roof, will they go, won't they go? It's what will the conditions be like when they get there? Because the last thing you want when you're sending $1 billion worth of contracts to Milan is to subject any of these players to injury.
And of course, the NHL has offered their experts in ice making to the Olympics. And they say we've had hockey games in Dodger Stadium. We're going to have 2 in Florida this year, one in Miami and one up the road where I am here in Florida in Tampa Bay. So certainly the NHL has done it before. And just to kind of wrap up this Olympic discussion before we move on to our next subject in expansion, Frank, the cool part about our job, we have these casual conversations, right, with coaches and players, and that's where we gain so much of our information and really perspective. So we give the fan the proper information that this is real. A coach might tell us a player is playing terribly. We won't say that, but we won't say he's playing great. So as you have all of these conversations about the Olympics overall, let's say 10's a home run, a Four Nations home run like last year. Where do you think most of the people, and maybe you can kind of combine them all to a number out of 10 being the Four Nations, what do you think the Olympic, when it's all said and done, will be the number surrounding the success of the Olympic Games this year, considering all that we're going through with the arena and the possibility of issues?
Well, I think if you could just park all those things and just get them there and everything goes off without a hitch, I mean, the play itself should be an 11 on a 10 scale. And that's really the part that we're all looking forward to is like, can we see another US-Canada clash and what would it be like? And you saw the US sort of turn up the temperature a little bit, and we had it on yesterday's show, but the spot that they had on NBC collecting Canadian tears, I mean, that's what we're talking about here is this. It's not even a spectacle. This is the best version of hockey that you're putting on display for millions upon millions of casual hockey fans. You want the sport to put its best foot forward. And so the sort of, Mickey Mouse stuff that the IOC is dealing with along the way here, trying to get this moving forward in the right direction. I mean, to hear one person, one of the stakeholders involved say to me yesterday, they were over there a few weeks ago looking at the facilities, and like the response from the Italians constructing it was like, whoa, the games aren't until February 5th. Like, why do you need it done so early? And so I think maybe, the stakeholders involved, because of what's on the line, because of the eyeballs, because of the competition and the way that this has been built up, the NHL players playing in the Olympics for the first time since 2014. I mean, what you're looking at is you want the best, and that's what everyone puts the Olympics on that stage, that pinnacle of sport. And to think that it might not reach that level based on a bad construction timeline is disappointing, but I'm still holding out hope that this is going to be a 10 of 10 because I think the players are ready. I think the sport is ready for that launching point, and I'm just hoping that everyone gets that same feel.
Yeah, environment matters, right? The fact that the Four Nations was in Montreal and Boston, that mattered. That added to the theater, no doubt about it. And so you want to have that good backdrop. And, it's been great working with John Tortorella again this year at ESPN. And of course, I'm of Italian descent, used to be Buccigross a long time ago. They chopped the eye off. And one that we were doing the intermission report one night, and Torts just looked at me and goes, Italians, as these delays were coming up. And hey, we'll just get more chicken parm, Frank. I will FedEx some chicken parm over there. Get those workers. Let's get a little carb up. We'll carbo load, and we'll get this thing done, and then everything will be fine. And before we wrap up your BOG, that's Board of Governors meetings, expansion. Expansion. I'm kind of curious what the average fan thinks about it. The owners love it because the expansion fee is free money for them. The players don't really share in it that much, although more jobs are created, probably around roughly 50 in terms of NHLers, but then a couple AHL teams. Now you're talking about another 50. So that's good opportunity. It's good for veterans who might be starting to age out. Oh, there's a chance I get one more contract with this team, whether it's Atlanta or Houston or Austin or whomever. What is in your mind the expansion? Was it part of the BOGs at all this week in Colorado Springs, and what are you hearing?
Yeah, it's one thing that wasn't on the agenda as they wrap up day 2 and everyone sort of heads back to their respective cities is people were kind of curious, would there be an update from the commissioner about the status of expansion and the expressions of interest that they continue to receive? And I'm told that it's nowhere on the agenda and not a topic of conversation. And people want to read into that whatever you want. Does that mean it's good or bad? What's the next step? And the first thing that comes to my mind is you see the recent valuations. CNBC was the last one to do it a couple weeks back, and the average NHL franchise is now worth $2 billion. And you see that Tom Dundon in Carolina, he's getting a $2 billion valuation to sell off a chunk of his team in the near future, a minority share. So you smash all those things together, and the NHL's asking price that they had let interested parties know, this is going back to last summer, was that the number starts with a 2. And as these valuations continue to increase and the stakes become that much larger, I think that expansion fee is going to continue to grow the longer this waits. It's sort of like watching your house, continue to appreciate. When's the right time to put the sale sign out there? When's the right time to accept a new party into the mix? The league has repeatedly said, John, that their thought process is once someone comes in and checks all the boxes, arena, owner, right market size, and does it help the league grow, that they'll consider that and begin their own internal process. But there's a couple things to read from that. One, clearly no one's done that yet. No one's checked all those boxes. And 2, maybe now isn't the right time for a lot of the reasons that I just mentioned, that instead of a $2 billion entrance fee, maybe the longer you wait, it becomes 3. And in the meantime, you weed out the people or suitors that really want to be part of it, because you're not really doing much tire kicking at that price point. You either have the goods or you don't.
Right. If fans are wondering, why someone would pay that much money for, well, first of all, why they're worth that much, it's scarcity. There's not many there's these, professional sports leagues, especially among the big 4 in America. And so when there's something scarce, it costs more money. And also there's amazing tax benefits that maybe the average fan doesn't realize these owners get. It's why they get into the game. Depreciation, you mentioned that word, and the different write-offs. It's very, very smart money play for them to get involved, spend that kind of money to get into the league and establish themselves and future franchise values as well, and future expansion, which they can be a part of, which might even pay for the team over the long run, over a certain period of time. So it's always, I don't know, it's always exciting. I think generally the fan likes expansion. They enjoy a new sweater, a new sweater or two, a new league. Obviously the cities love it. It energizes the city. And I've always said that nothing creates hockey fans like NHL teams. That's why I've always been pro expansion, because it just creates youth hockey, adult hockey, beer league hockey. We see Columbus, Dallas, just how many rinks were built because the Dallas Stars showed up, and those things really matter. And so we'll see where it goes in this coming decade. If it is this decade, if it's more like 2030, but it's coming, and it's coming pretty quickly. All right, a couple NHL issues to hit on now. Let's hit on a couple teams, Frank, before we bring in Bob McKenzie, which is going to be a great conversation for our first show together, the legend. And let's begin with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I watched their game on Monday night against the Maple Leafs. They lose 2-0. Maple Leafs playing well, 4-1 their last 5, so they're starting to find some traction. Their 5th straight win against the Lightning. They've played well against Tampa Bay historically. Dennis Hildeby gets his first career shutout with 29 saves. But the Lightning are on a season-long 4-game losing streak, Frank, consecutive times shut out. Overall, interesting team. First in PK. That amazing power play is kind of mid, 15.7%. Which isn't, it's not a terrible number by itself. You only caught, a few less goals than other teams get, but certainly with their talent, not there at all. Give me a little Tampa Bay perspective from your point of view, and then I got what I think is the biggest issue with them right now.
Yeah, so for me, I'm all eyes on the Andrei Vasilevskiy injury. He's on IR, not LTIR, so it won't be incredibly long. They're looking at 1 to 2 weeks, but I mean, he's really the linchpin of everything that they do. And you could say, well, thanks, Captain Obvious. That's every goalie in the league. But particularly when you look at the 7-game winning streak that they were on before this 4-game skid, 5 of those 7 games, they allowed 1 goal or fewer, with Vasilevskiy backstopping all 7. And you go, well, clearly that's the recipe for success. He goes out, this 4-game skid, becomes a real thing. And now you look at this roller coaster season for the Bolts and you go, well, which team is the real Tampa Bay Lightning? I mean, think about the way they started the year. Really a disappointing kind of start when you considered how wide open the Atlantic Division was. Then they start to put it together, and now they're back to square one. And so I'm still, even as we're into December now, trying to figure out exactly the right prism to view this Lightning team through.
I'm bullish on the Lightning, and I haven't been the last couple of years. I thought there was a lack of electricity, a lack of hunger. Let's face it, after they went to 3 straight cup finals, everybody got rich, and they got rich fast. And I know they're professionals, but let's face it, that's going to take a little bit of edge off your own personal career. It's going to a little bit. But this year I've kind of had a little rebirth with my bullishness on the Lightning. I really like their defense now. Obviously, McDonough injury, Hedman injury. I think Moser has taken a step up. I think Lilleberg has become a kind of an established 5-6 guy. Dastu's come out of nowhere, who could either be a trade chip or a really solid guy to kind of implement. Chernak's been out as well. Obviously, he's more of a playoff guy, block shots with your face, just, do whatever you can. His game is built more for the playoffs, but the occasional regular season gong show, it's good to have him out there as well. I just think, Frank, the issue for them this year is Braden Point. He's really struggling with only 3 goals and 11 points. This is a guy he's had 4 straight power play goal regular season. He's going to get you 10 for sure. He's had 2 seasons with 20. This is a power play monster in the bumper with Cernak to his right. Did have Stamkos the one timer on his left. Obviously now he's got Guentzel kind of around the net, and on Hedman at the point as well. And a playoff monster, as we know. When they won the cup, he had 14 goals in each of those years in 23 games, back to back, 14 goals, 23 games. He gets hurt when they go for 3 in a row, right? And they lose to Colorado. Might have anyway, but a healthy Braden Point could have been the difference for a three-peat. And I'm not sure what it is. And I think some of these players are feeling some Olympic pressure. He's on the team, but he probably feels like, now, they might call me tonight and say I'm off. He's not. He's going to Italy. But you know how players think.
They can't. Yeah. Do you think? I was going to say, do you think would they want a do-over? You think, on putting him in the original 6 selections?
Deep down they might. Now they may feel like this is going to be a instant playoff vibe, the Olympics. And all those guys, the cream will rise to the top. It's like the old Phil Mickelson, Fred Couples. It doesn't matter how they're playing golf when they show up at Augusta. When they go down Magnolia Lane, the magic is back. And maybe they feel that way about Braden Point, that he will be that guy. But again, his last 3 years, 51 goals, 46 goals, 42 goals. This year, he's on pace for about 9. And I really think he's always been the engine for them offensively. Kucherov is pass first. A lot of people felt Steven Stamkos was a one-trick pony, one-timing, on the wing. Point drove the Lightning. I love what they have, around him. That PK is number 1. Hagel's a star. Cirelli is obviously an established vet. I think it's about Point. And right now he just hasn't yet to find his game with 3 goals and 8 assists, 11 points in 22 games, a half a point a game.
Do you have Cirelli on your Olympic team?
Again, I know Cooper loves him, and he's got a lot of pull, right? The coach is always going to have pull on guys he likes, and there's no way he's not taking them. Me, if I went through it, he's not a great face-off guy, right? He's not a pure goal scorer, not a big physical guy, and if it becomes a smaller rink game, so that would be something that I would look at, and obviously we'll find out at the end of this month.
Yeah, I'd say Cirelli, no, and I'm on the fence about Hagel. I just think the guys that have played so well, the younger guys this year, Celebrini, Bedard, we mentioned Tom Wilson, Wyatt Johnston is in that mix, and we'll hear from him later in the show, but Morgan Geekie. There's just been so many guys that have played exceptionally well. It's hard to put some of those trusts and biases aside that you have as a coach to open your eyes to the rest of the league and how well they've played.
Yeah, we have a great soundbite from Morgan Geekie, folks. Don't miss that. It's coming up later in the show. So let's talk about now the Vancouver Canucks. Another big story, Frank, that's developing. Quinn Hughes, of course. They lost to Detroit last night, second worst team in the league. Hughes was a -2, played 21 minutes. He's a point per game guy still this year, only 2 goals, but he's not really one of those heavily goal scoring defensemen. He's just obviously just a great all around point guard, the guy that drives the offense, just electric player to watch, one of the best in the league. Still only 26 years old. And again, this story is going to gain momentum, Frank, with Vancouver. Because they have stuff to trade, really good assets, and if they manage it well, they could have a pretty quick reset Only wasn't that long ago. They had a game 7 at home a couple of springs ago against Edmonton that really could have changed everything. What do you think about Quinn Hughes? What are you hearing out there as you get around some NHL personnel at the Board of Governors meetings in Colorado Springs where you are?
Yeah, so I want to get your thoughts on this, but just to quickly share
Mm-hmm.
what I've heard and my understanding is that when the Canucks 2 weeks ago, yesterday, sent out their message to the rest of the league about the vets and their availability, the way that it was worded, it didn't signal exactly what they were looking for. So naturally, when you see, hey, we're looking to potentially move vets for younger players, teams are picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, does this include Quinn Hughes? And when they were told no, the response typically has been, well, if you get to a place where you want to move Quinn Hughes or you're open to having that conversation, keep me in mind because I'd like to be part of that. And who wouldn't? We're talking about a Hart Trophy caliber player. And so,
Right.
that's sort of been the general gist of the way that these calls have gone. And I have no indication from the Canucks that they're open to moving Quinn Hughes in the short term. If anything, they might like to add to try and improve their competitive situation to show him a path forward for when he is eligible to sign that extension. So in the meantime, though, with 1 goal and 1 assist in his last 8 games, certainly his effort in a couple of those games has drawn some eyebrows. And then fans in Vancouver, as they're wont to do, want to parse through all of his words, such as after last night's game when asked about it. And then he raved about
Yep.
the sort of response from Detroit and how they've built their team. People want to read into that even more so. But look, I don't believe the Canucks have any intention right now on moving Quinn Hughes. That can change, but that's what teams have been told. What's your view on this, and where do you think this heads?
Yeah, just before we get to Bob McKenzie, he's on deck. Join us here in a second. I guess the first thing I'd say is I can't believe how much Quinn has really grown up. I covered him when he was a freshman at Michigan, made the Frozen Four, very quiet kid amongst these upperclassmen at Michigan. You just kind of see him there, very quiet. He's really become self-assured the last year or two. I think the captaincy helped. He's growing up fast. He's really become. I think maybe Jack might have been in some ways kind of maybe the beacon of the family for a while. But the way Quinn talks now, he's really growing up fast. He's got a presence about him, I think, a real grown-up, mature presence about him that's really impressive to me. And I think in a lot of ways, he's going to drive this bus. I think he'll be proactive. I think whatever he wants is going to happen. That's how I look at it. And I think you're right. That's an interesting point, though. Does Vancouver add first with a Sherwood trade or something like that to really try to do something big with him that, A, would help him now? First of all, they can help gauge their own players, obviously try to placate Quinn to keep him and sign an 8 times whatever contract, at the end of the summer. And then if not, then it helps them reassess the rest of the guys. And then from there, they can flip and do all kinds of stuff to try to get back in the game. But right now, for me, it's a tough time, but you need to have your mind stronger than your feelings. That's one of my favorite quotes. And that's what Vancouver, their fans, and they all have to do is just really focus on your mind, not your feelings. Because as you can say, and you said, it's going to be emotional. It's going to be an emotional time for everybody this next month or two. And that can often lead to bad results. But with that in mind, we've promised. And now let's bring in the legend. Bob McKenzie will join us now. And where's Bob? He's logged in and ready to go, joining us here on Frankly Hockey. And there he is. Look at Bob. Hello, Bob.
How you doing, Boots? How you doing, Frankie?
Doing great.
Good to see you, Bob.
Congratulations, by the way, on everything. We get to work with Frank. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, it doesn't. Frank's my boy, and I've been pushing for Frank for a long time. And I just when he asked me to join the show, I couldn't believe it. I'd never been in this space before, Bob, and so it's fun to jump in. And I like this 3 box right here. This is my kind of triple box to be a part of. You want to be I'm the left winger here. 6'4", 200. I'll go get the puck and I'll dish it to you guys, and you go play and score. Why don't you start us off, Frank, with Bob?
Yeah, Bob, great to have you and great to see you. Miss working with you. But wanted to bring up something that Bucci tweeted about this week, and the Elmer Ferguson, the Foster Hewitt Award. You are the Elmer Ferguson Award recipient from 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But there's been a push, an undercurrent from the media world to try and change some of the Hockey Hall of Fame and Broadcaster Association thought processes on how that award is determined. And I know something near and dear to Bucci's heart as well. What's going on there?
Yeah, you know what? And to your point, the undercurrent was more of an overcurrent, and it was led by the guy right beside you. Bucci really took on a lead role in trying to get the NHL Broadcasters Association to expand the criteria for giving out and handing out the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award, because it had morphed into an award that was really only for play-by-play or color men on team broadcasts for the most part, and obviously some guys in the national media got it as well. But oftentimes it was rooted in whether you work for a team, and that really precluded a lot of really good people. When I think back to my days watching Hockey Night in Canada in the 1960s, Ward Cornell was the host of Hockey Night in Canada for 12 years. He never won the award. Dave Hodge was a legend at Hockey Night in Canada, a good friend of mine, and he's never won the award. And we could go on and on. And I mean, if you do 12 years of Hockey Night in Canada, like Ward Cornell or Dave Hodge or Ron McLean, whatever the case may be, you should be winning the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award. And now that Bucci led the charge to get the Broadcasters Association to alter that can certainly happen. And Bucci's motivation, I'll let him speak for himself, but he obviously felt very strongly that Barry Melrose should be a recipient of the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award, and I would 100% agree with that. And I feel very strongly that Don Cherry is a guy who should be honored with the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award as well. And now that the criteria has expanded, and you've got this, what I think is a pretty big backlog of a whole bunch of deserving people, and I don't know that this could possibly happen, but wouldn't it be cool if the NHL Broadcasters Association saw fit this coming year to come up with two recipients, two honorees? And I couldn't think of a better time or place for Barry Melrose and Don Cherry because of advancing years, because of advancing medical conditions and all of that, an opportunity for them to receive these awards and know that their career, their legacy is deeply honored, and the fans very much are behind this sort of thing as well.
Yeah, that was my motivation, Bobby, as you mentioned. Just for the fans out there, the quote that I received over the weekend was, "You must be a play-by-play person, color analyst, or a host for an NHL team or a national broadcast." And my original tweet was, why can't we just use 7 words to change the criteria? That's all it takes. And why do we wait for people to die before we honor them? And that was, and that could be anybody. It doesn't matter if you're 90, 80, 70, 60. Once somebody makes this kind of contribution, and Don and Barry, since they were 12 years old, their entire life has been hockey as players, professional players, coaches, and then media. And just think what an amazing night for them. And that's my main criteria, is let them have a moment with their family and friends where they can just have an amazing get together. And also it's great television. As viewers and people who haven't met them, we've met them and we've shared those great moments with them. But your average fan doesn't. They know them only on television, and maybe they see them in a hotel lobby or at a game and they have a picture with them, and that's a great moment they still treasure. They will love it. Everybody wins here. And that's why it seems such an easy decision in my mind. Like you said, Bob, I like the multiple idea because, and it wasn't just about Don and Barry. They're the headliners, but you mentioned
absolutely.
the great, yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up early because those people also dedicate your life to hockey. Away from your, not great sacrifices. We have a great job. We play in the toy store of life, but late nights and all those nights on the road, and it's like you do it because you love the game. And that's what we want. We want to honor people who love and live the game. That's how I look at it, and this hopefully does that.
Yeah, and I'll make a preemptive strike here. I mean, there'll be some people who say, well, what about the way Don's career ended with Hockey Night in Canada? Fair enough. But I would say 2 things to that. Number one, at the time Don said what he said, I didn't like what he said. I didn't like how he said it. And when I was asked about it publicly, I said that. But number 2, and maybe more importantly, I fervently believe that cannot and should not be the defining moment in the career or the life of Don Cherry. I mean, as bombastic and controversial and all those things that Don Cherry was, this was a very kind man, a very caring man, a very compassionate guy who was out in front of a lot of really good causes and ahead of a lot of really good causes. And I mean, even beyond all of that, outside of Foster Hewitt, who pioneered the play-by-play position, Danny Gallivan, who perfected the play-by-play position, and Bob Cole, who took the baton from Danny Gallivan and just continued to do amazing things, voice and hockey together. Nobody could do that better. Beyond all of that, Don Cherry was easily, in my mind, the most impactful broadcaster associated with hockey ever. And quite frankly, it's not even close. On Saturday night, Canada would basically shut down during the first intermission of Hockey Night in Canada. People would turn on the game. They weren't even watching the game just to hear what Don Cherry said. And then for the next week, families and friends would argue, debate, agree, disagree about what Don Cherry said. You could not find an individual who had a more impactful career as a broadcaster. And when I think of even transcending hockey, Howard Cosell and Don Cherry, to me, are maybe two of the two most impactful broadcasters in my lifetime for what they did. And they were unique and they were special. And I think it'd be wonderful for Don and Barry and a lot of these other guys that we talked about to get this to be honored.
So just for clarity's sake, because I'm sure someone listening at home is asking this question, the rule has not changed, or the criteria has not changed, or what's the status of it?
Well, I thought that the tweet Bucci put out suggested that they were changing the rule.
Yeah, and that's what I was told. And I saw a different tweet last night saying that somebody talked to somebody and it wasn't changed. I checked my source again, and they said, no, it has been. So there is a little bit of a gray area. Exactly. And
we're putting the cart ahead of the horse there. But obviously, I mean, listen, I've got a lot of respect for the guys that run the NHL Broadcasters Association, but you got to change with the times. And
right.
to have a Foster Hugh Memorial Award that goes to broadcasters, hockey broadcasters who have an incredible legacy and performance in the sport, and to not have Dave Hodge in there, to not have Ward Cornell, to not have Barry Melrose, to not have Don Cherry, because they don't fit a very narrow criteria of what the NHL Broadcasters Association. I mean, that it has to change. And I think if the NHL, and again, not knowing exactly what the status of this is, Bucci, because as you said, there seems to be some level of confusion on it. At some point, whether it's the Hockey Hall of Fame Board of Directors or the National Hockey League or somebody, it needs to be addressed, because we're not doing right by the greats in broadcasting. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what these awards are supposed to be about. It's to honor the legacy, not just of the individuals, but the game itself. And you can't write a broadcasting history of the National Hockey League without mentioning Don Cherry or Barry Melrose or Dave Hodge or Ward Cornell or Ron McLean and in future generations, James Duffy and Steve Levy and on and on and on it goes. Like let's be real here. So yeah, so I just I don't do podcasts anymore. I don't do many appearances anymore. I'm happily retired, and I want to stay that way. But this was something that was near and dear to my heart, because I really believe it's an important thing for the media honorees. And I think, Frank, to your credit and to the Professional Hockey Writers Association, they did a good job of adjusting to the digital age and not getting hung up on, because for a long time, Yelmer Ferguson, if you weren't a beat reporter in the National Hockey League, you weren't going to get you weren't going to be honored with the award. That changed, and rightfully so. And I just think we need to be more inclusive on that front.
And just two quick things that you talk about, Don. I'll never forget, I covered the Stanley Cup Finals, 2000, 2004, the last time ESPN and ABC had hockey before the interruption, the 17-year interruption. And I'll never forget, in between periods, all the beat writers would leave their spot, find a television like bugs hot July night, and just listen to what Don would say. Like, I've never seen that in my history of covering any sport at ESPN, that they would actually, you had to hear what he said. That was powerful. And for Barry, no one in American history of American television and hockey had the 25 to 30-year impact he had. And I saw it, again, whether doing SportsCenter, out on the road with him. Elvis Presley. You go to dinner, Barry walks across the room at the dinner at the steakhouse, and people who knew him were in awe, and people who didn't know who he was were like, that guy is somebody. He has something. That guy's a star. I don't know who he is, the dude somewhere in Pitt, but they knew. And so the impact that Barry had in America, being a kid from Saskatchewan, and again, coaching Wayne Gretzky, winning a junior, winning a Memorial Cup, winning a Calder Cup as well at Adirondack, and almost winning the Stanley Cup, 3 wins away. And then obviously the impact he made in television, how he treated people in public, how he took every picture, signed every autograph. He was a great role model for me to watch him, interact with fans. So those 2 stories for me around Don and Barry are, again, just another reason. I mean, their resumes speak for themselves, but those little moments as well behind the scenes are kind of like, if there is a tiebreaker, those are certainly breaks the tie.
And they're both far better dressers than any of the 3 of us.
Yeah, that's right. For sure. Bob, on your way out, I know that you are fully retired now. No more dabbling. July 1 was your last day. It's the most wonderful time of the year for hockey fans. Are you going to miss not being at World Junior this year?
The best way I would answer that question is I'm not going to miss having to get on a plane on Christmas Day and fly to the Twin Cities and spend Christmas and New Year's away from my family, especially now that I've got 2 grandkids. And so I really look forward to really enjoying, for the first time since who knows when, back in at some point in the 80s, I guess, just the opportunity to stay home at Christmas and New Year's and be with my family. So that's what I'm looking forward to the most. And I'm sure I'll watch some of the games. Yeah, it's great to be a granddad. I'm loving it.
All right, Bob. Well, let's make our way to the Hoot Owl in Canton, New York sometime and share a couple beers and talk hockey and talk St. Lawrence and hockey up there. And I know you had great memories up there in that great part of the world. In college hockey, we mentioned Clarkson and St. Lawrence, but great memories at the Hoot Owl. We need to make some more there.
Yeah, and just a quick update. The Hoot Owl, which is a great bar in Canton,
legendary.
New York. But Danny Fay, the owner and proprietor of the Hoot Owl, who I was also happen to be good friends with former NHL general manager Mike Smith, recently passed away. And Danny was a real true original, and so was the Hoot Owl. And his famous line, he had 2 of them: "You never know," and "Scary, isn't it?" So in any case, here's to Danny Fay, the Hoot Owl, and Barry and Don and everybody else, and hopefully we'll see the Foster Hewitt Memorial Award going out to people who truly deserve it, and that includes obviously all those that have won it in advance of this.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. I mean, to be my first episode with Frank here and to have you on, I'm honored. You're such a great energy source covering the sport for so long. I know after a while it empties the tank, and you're just really enjoying what you're doing now and the grandkids. That's a magical moment for sure. And I can't thank you enough for jumping on. I know it's kind of interrupts the day, but I couldn't be more appreciative of you, and thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Frank.
See you, Bob.
The great Bob McKenzie, the Hall of Famer. And again, he was the dude for so long. And you, of course, worked with him, right? You were right. I never worked with him. I would see him at the Stanley Cup Finals, Frank, and the All-Star games and things like that. But you were right next to him.
I mean, simply the best. Can't say it any clearer than that. What an unbelievable person, what he's meant to me in my career, and how much I learned from him, how to phrase things, how to do things, when to call, what to do. It's invaluable. Changed my career, changed my life.
He should write a book about that, and so to give it out to young journalism students for sure. All right, let's move on now and ask the insider, Frank Saravalli, as we take a look at what happened last night. Bobby McMann in that situation with Tampa Bay. It's always fun to play. How many games could the suspension be? And come on down, Bobby McMann. And as you analyze this,
Bobby McMann will have that hearing today with the Department of Player Safety. Okay. And it was for this, received a match penalty for the slash to the head here, which you'll see right there. Certainly not pretty. It was interesting to hear Craig Berube asked about it after the game, because he said he had a tough time with the match penalty. He thought that was maybe a bridge too far. If he didn't like that, I'm sure he's not going to like the news of this hearing. I think you need to send the message that, you need to control yourself and your stick, and any slash to the head deliberate like this won't be tolerated. My guess would be a 1-game suspension for Bobby McMann here.
Okay, he was kind of building the fence a bit as Bjorkstrand came in on him. It was a bit of a deflecting blow and then hit the shoulder pad. But yeah, at this point, you just can't do that because you never know what could happen. And again, it was not a bad result. 1 game certainly seems like a fair piece of justice there. Moving on now to this is the most hockey thing ever, or is this another? Oh, this is the most hockey thing ever. This is hockey in a nutshell. This is Brendan Gaunce, Frank, and I don't know what your dad is like. NHL is a good and takes a stick to the chiclets, loses a tooth, Frank, and finds it on the white ice. That could be tough.
Yeah.
I love his reaction. It's like, oh.
It seemed to be of like joy for Gaunce here. Like, hey, look what I found. I got it, and hopefully someone can reattach this in my mouth. I mean, the fact that he's looking at, like, look at his face. He's like, whoa, I found it. That's amazing. Look.
I like afterwards.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, well, I mean, didn't even seem to be wincing in pain, which is pretty amazing in its own right after getting that knocked out of his mouth. But yeah, our hashtag hockey segment, we always take a little look around the social media world and see what everyone catches from these games. And that was something that, I mean, look, to find it is one thing. Now to go through the process of getting it reattached is another.
Yeah. Well, first you go back to your 5-star Ritz-Carlton that all these NHL teams stay in. You put it under the pillow. And, maybe get a little sawbuck or something. Then you go to the dentist. So put it in the milk. My son had a tooth knocked out of his mouth once, and they found it in the bottom of a pool because some kid pushed him and his face hit the back of the head of a kid who was in the pool. Awful. Like 10. Tooth falls out, goes to the bottom of the pool. Someone goes down and gets it, puts it in a glass of milk, and they make their way to the hospital, and they put it back in. Like, that really does work. So if you have a pool party this summer, Frank, and some kid loses a chiclet, get the milk, throw it in there. And so Gaunce, hopefully hopefully he got a little cash under the Ritz-Carlton pillow and then got a thing reattached. But yeah, 4 different NHL teams, 4 different AHL teams for Brendan, including Utica. So you spend a winter in Utica, you're a tough dude. And so I'm sure he'll be fine. All right, Frank, we always want to know, what are your plays as you watch hockey every night? You see something, and what do you think might be a good play?
Yeah, we're on a roll, up to +6 units for the season. So nice. If you, again, in simple math terms, if $100 is your unit, you've got 600 plus your original investment. So I've got you at plus 600 for the season. So that's after the Wild picked up their puck line win. I'm going back to the puck line tonight in Nashville. It's the only way to really find any value on the Avs. I mean, they've been so dominant this year. They've beat teams for fun and by large margins. And so with that, I'm going to go Avs on the puck line -1.5 in Nashville against a team that has definitely struggled this season and still at plus money. So the fact that you can get the Avs at plus money, tough weekend for them. They had back-to-back day games. They won those. That was coming after their second regulation loss of the season on the island. So they rebounded and responded in a big way. And then now ride into Nashville tonight, plus money. These odds courtesy of our friends at BetMGM.
Always exciting to be on the puck line and have the net empty, right? Those are some of the great moments in a person's life when they
might not need it
in their apartment.
Yeah, they might not need the empty net. They might be up by 4 already.
Maybe it decorates life for sure. All right, time for the last word, Frank, and this is a good one, really good. Why don't you set this one up?
Yeah, so Morgan Geekie has just been fantastic, and I reported last week about him playing his way into this Team Canada conversation, which I don't think anyone had on their bingo card. And you look at the way that he's prodigiously scored goals this year. If you thought last year was an aberration, 30-plus goal season, I mean, he's nearing that, and we're approaching Christmas, which speaks to how well he's played. And the shooting percentage is like 20%. He's out here duplicating it again, proving that he can shoot the rock. And how? What was the formulation of that? How did he get so good? Well, take a listen. He explains with the boys on Spit and Chicklets.
My dad played in like the Allen Cup. I mean, it used to be a big thing, at least where we were, and they used to have a team. It was like Ile-de-Shane, which I actually don't know where it is, but my dad played on it. They went to Japan after they won the Allen Cup, and he used to play with Pat Falloon. He was like first pick ever, I think, to San Jose. So they knew each other all growing up and like played against and with each other. And my dad's a lefty and I'm a righty, so he had like no sticks. And obviously anybody's dad is trying to look for best bang for your buck. So whenever Patty would just break a stick, he would just cut it down like to mite height, and then I would use it. And he had like the old stall curve, so it's basically just like a straight stick. And or it might be the Drury, I guess same thing. But yeah, I used those like all growing up, and then I didn't get my first like real composite stick till probably I was like 12 or 13. So I used wood ones forever. Like my dad would just go to the hardware store, buy 10 sticks for $60, and that was it. Except for
Go to the forest, cut down a tree.
I was the only kid that had the wood stick, and everybody else had like the sick Reebok. I think it was the Easton Synergy, like the Z Bubble, all those. They were unbelievable. I'm like asking my dad, like, can I get one of these things? He's like, no, sir. So I stuck with my wood one.
It makes me sad, Bucci, going to the local Pure Hockey or wherever you get your hockey equipment and seeing how few wooden sticks are left. I mean, I grew up on the get the dozen Paul Coffey curve at the beginning of the season. Actually, believe it or not, growing up, I used the Reggie Leach curve, Reggie the Riverton rifle. And, to think, obviously the game has changed so much, but that shooting with a wooden stick for that long might have changed Morgan Geekie's career in life. I mean, or not, it might have been genetics, but nonetheless, just a reminder that you don't need the fanciest gear. You don't need the $379 stick. Maybe it's just the simple things in life.
Yeah, it's the Ty Domi wrist curl program, right? 50 sets of 50 pounds. And that's what, play with a wood stick. You're basically doing wrist curls for 2 hours a day. But what a story, Geekie. 3rd round pick, Carolina, let go. Expansion draft by Seattle, 7 goals and 9 goals. They let him go. Boston, nice little, 2-year deal, $2 million per. Bust out in the 2nd year. And now here he is. They got him at 5.5 for 6 years. What a story for him and the Bruins. And this is like, both sides win. And it all began with a wooden twig. Who would have thunk it?
The last of a dying breed, literally. To see that there's not one NHLer that uses a wooden stick and hasn't for a decade, it's pretty amazing.
22 goals, 2nd in the league to Nathan McKinnon's 24. So what a great story. And there's no better look than when you look at the parent of a 9-year-old who breaks their composite stick, the look on the parent's face when they have to sprint to the pro shop after the 2nd period and buy a stick for $300. It's a wonderful look to see in person, in real time.
Yeah.
My kid's first stick was a wooden stick, Jack, back in Mite, and I still have that. In fact, I had him autograph it. He had a good year. He had a good year with that wooden twig. I had the Sherwood back in the day. That was the dominant wooden stick when I was a kid, was Sherwood. Northland was just getting phased out. Bobby Orr's old stick that he had back in the day. Well, there it is. We have just hit the empty net goal right there with the last word, Frank. I think it was a win. It felt good. Did it feel good to you?
Yeah, it was awesome. Great to have you alongside, and so good to see Bob. Haven't seen him in a bit. And what an episode. Frankly Hockey, first one in the books.
It felt good. Again, shout out Broncos. And I'll be here. I'll be on the road covering games in hotels like Frank is right now in Colorado Springs. We'll be all over the place between the two of us, but we have a camera, we have a microphone. We want to bring the fans inside to the great access we have and share the love of the game that we have as well. It's been a great NHL season, Frank, and this is the perfect time for me to jump in. Thanks so much for the invitation, and I'm ready to roll all season long until we raise that cup in June. Thanks so much again, Frank.
Yeah, and we'll be back. That's the best part. Tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern, so we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you on Frankly Hockey.